You guys sound good, man. So, I did this in the first service. I just want to publicly acknowledge our choir. And also Lissa. Not to put you on the spot. Not to put you on the spot, but this is a demonstration for Lissa. It was our intention last year for the choir to be a year-round event, and she's been diligently working through her health stuff, and is demonstrating a much higher level of health right now. So we're delighted to see that and to see this demonstration. And steady Al. Yes. Mr. Slade. Yeah, so he does all the running around. You know, it takes those kinds of folks. So I so appreciate, choir, I so appreciate that your gift of music for this holiday season. And this has not been an easy commitment. They've been meeting after the Wednesday night service. That means like 8 o'clock p.m. And so I just say, and some folks were available and some weren't, and some kind of way you all pulled it all together, and it just really sounds fantastic. So I just really appreciate it. I know I'm laying it on thick, but I really mean it. So, for those of you who are sitting out there thinking you'd like to be sitting up here, right? The answer is yes, and there will be more opportunities to do that. And never mind what you think about your voice, right, Lissa? Right. Never mind that. I'm serious, right? Most people are better singers than they think, except for my brother. You're hearing this, Sean. No, we're all Irish. We're all singers. So we've had this lovely commitment with the choir here, and as Reverend Kathy was acknowledging, you know, we have had a lot of activities during this holiday season. So we've had the Spiral of Light, headed up with Rosalie and Alex and Chloe. We've had our outreach effort to the North Valley Caring Services over helping needy families to, actually they're the children of needy families, to provide gifts for their parents. And thanks to Reverend Betsy and her crew, several people yesterday. 20 showed up for that. The Dynamo's Health and Fitness Group met on Friday. All these people met on Friday, or during the week, by the way. The Health and Fitness Group met on Friday, and even ongoing Science of Mind classes. All these are ongoing efforts and ministries that help people to develop and implement, and that many of you are participating in. So busy people with busy lives, making time for each other to come together to make the world just a little better in that moment. And then from that moment on. Because it is the actions in this moment that creates our future. That's the basics of our teaching. I don't know that we really understand But that's a basic tenet. The way that I'm living and being right now is creating my future reality. Now the players involved may not see it that way. So some folks may be coming to these commitments just to pass the time. Maybe to stave off feelings of loneliness or even depression. Some folks are using it maybe to bring family together, which frankly makes my heart sick. Because it ain't easy. It ain't easy getting kids together to do stuff like go to church. So I appreciate the parents out there who make that commitment on a regular basis to bring their kids to Sunday service. Some use it to generate energy, right? To get some Christmas spirit moving, because after all, we're supposed to be happy this time of year. Merry Christmas. And clearly, some folks are doing this and coming clearly out of a sense of wanting to participate in and build spiritual community, even if that means there's only 3 or 4 people being served. That's true ministry. Being willing to do that. Right? And it's not just ministers who are in ministry. So I'm sharing this observation with you this morning to illustrate that whatever our motivations are, Spirit is using us right now to demonstrate its highest good. That Spirit is using us at all times to demonstrate its good. That Spirit can use whatever is going on within us to create with or to restore with. Spirit is not bound by our story or by the conditions of our lives. Spirit is not bound by our emotions, our bank balance, or whether we're an introvert or an extrovert. Spirit is bound only by our willingness to be its agent of transformation, in spite of our opinions of what we think God is, or how it is or is not showing up in our life, how it's doing it for us or not. In spite of those opinions, God is. Now, this idea that we can be agents of transformation implies that there's change within that. And this is not always easy. Because it's a great irony of human life, is that we would rather stay with the familiar. Because the familiar is safe. It's better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. And many of us want to live lives that are transformed. And yet we don't want to be inconvenienced. Yes. And this keeps us bound. This keeps us bound. The inconvenience, the idea that we're being inconvenienced, that's the ball and chain. So, and to be an agent of transformation, we must be open to change. Now, what does this mean? What it means is that our spiritual system, our way of knowing spiritual practice, must be as large as we can make it. It must be as inclusive as we can conceive of it. That we must have a full realization that change is a necessary component, and that change is necessary not out there, but right here. That's where the change is, or more accurately, right here. After that shift is made, after this shift is made, our life transforms itself. Right? Because then we're pulled into it. So Dr. Beckwith calls it the vision is pulling you into it. So in this way then, troublesome co-workers are transformed into angels. Our spouse is magically communicating better. We feel connected in our relationships. Our business is ticking up in growth and profitability. And we are presented with employment opportunities with like-minded people, which make for like-minded companies, which make for a like-minded culture. Our business associates are more congenial and committed to scenarios where everyone profits. Now, maybe this idea seems a bit far-fetched. Maybe a little too Pollyanna-ish. Well, maybe so. And yet, what I know about every person in this room and every person on the planet is that there is a heart's desire within you that is yet to be fully realized. Now, I don't know what that is specifically, and I don't need to know, but you do. You know. Every one of you knows. Regardless of how great your life is going, there's an itch in there. And that desire, that itch, is Spirit wanting to use you and to use me to create the next big thing in our life. So listen to it. Honor it. It is divine. It is the divine urge within you whispering, do it. Do it. Forgive. Forget. Live more. Love more. Now this takes a tremendous amount of courage. Because we have to be willing to be vulnerable and in the vulnerability then, to harness the power to implement this idea, to live courageously enough to really work the edge, to allow this idea, this next big thing to come forward. And so it can feel like sometimes we're out in the wilderness, that we're working it alone. This is not a condition simply for the modern era. In the Gospel according to Luke in chapter 3, it says, the Word of God came to John, son of Zechariah, in the wilderness. And he went into the whole region around the Jordan, calling for baptism and a change of heart that leads to the forgiveness of sins. For as it is written in the book of the sayings of the prophet Isaiah, make ready the way of the Lord. Make his path straight. Every valley will be filled, every mountain and hill leveled, and what is crooked will be made straight, and the rough ways smooth. And then the whole human race will see the salvation of God. Another way of saying that may be, make ready the way of the law. Make your path single. Make thine eye single. See the straight path. And know that every low spot will be filled. Every obstacle will be leveled. That the ways of confusion or circular thinking will be made straight. That the rough patches will be smoothed. And in this way, the whole human race will experience enlightenment. Will experience knowing the light of God within. So it is written that this message was the message that John the Baptizer, cousin to the man known as Jesus of Nazareth, was preaching before Jesus started his ministry. And if you listen to this passage with the ear of that ancient Jewish person, you will hear expectancy. You will hear the promise of a deliverer, a Messiah. Many thought in that time that this deliverer would be a warrior king that would cast off the unclean pagan yoke of the Roman and restore the nation of Israel as it was in the day of David and Solomon. What they got instead was that God was the king of reconciliation, the king of inclusivity, the king of love, the king of consciousness. A man who was so pure in knowing his connection with the Father that he could heal spontaneously. Now, the institutions created around his teachings may have wandered off a bit from this message. But that's basically the message. Reconciliation, inclusivity, love, consciousness. The way we think, consciousness. It is done unto you as you believe. No man can serve God and mammon. No man can serve two masters. He taught the way to enlightenment was in forgiving ourselves for our poor thinking by first forgiving others. So we talk about, well, you have to learn to love yourself, you have to learn to forgive. Yes, that's true. But it ain't all about you. It ain't all about me. I think the trap of modern man is that we get caught up in our thinking about what we think our life is. Richard Rohr calls this the egoic self or the false self. And what we drive, what we wear, who we're with, what we think, where we went to school, what kind of job we have, these things define who we are. And in this way we can get confused, and so we go to psychologists to help us navigate our way out of that thinking. But all a psychologist can really help us do is to cope. It can help us out of the maze, but it's the maze of what? The maze of condition. People of faith, however, see, a psychologist can't really tell you there's a higher power. That there's a true self, as Richard Rohr would put it. There's a true self within you and within me that's never been violated. Never. That knows love and only love. Does not know lack or limitation. The true self. The Father. The all in all. The Atman. Many cultures have called it many things. There's only one thing. How do you get there? Reconciliation, inclusivity, love. So, how do we get there? By understanding that we, you and I, are all one with the Father. And as we understand this dominant truth in our life and as our life, we shall be free. Not rich beyond our wildest dreams. Free. Not allowing ourselves to party till the lights go down. No, free. Now we may live our life that way. We may live our life knowing that wealth is ours to command. But that's not the promise. The promise is in knowing that we are one with the one. And in that knowing that we are satiated. So that the world, we no longer look to the world to fill us in any way. As we understand this dominant truth as our life, we shall be free. Now this is not so easy. There is safety in rules. Right? The Pharisees were observant Jews at the time. Lots of rules. If you obeyed the rules, you were in the club. Right? In today's thinking, if you obey the rules, then you get everlasting life. If you don't, you burn. But there's safety in rules. You know where you fit. You know where your neighbor fits. I'm going to ask you, what kind of life would you be living, would I be living, if we really knew, if we truly knew, as Jesus did, that I and the Father are one, I'll tell you what we would be. We would be change agents of transformation. Because we would practice detachment from stuff and things. We would understand that wealth is to be shared, even if it's just a coat or a meal. We would understand that where much has been given, much is expected. You know, it's been said, again, this is from Richard Rohr, it's been said that if you make a list of all the possessions that you have in life, that list is how far away you are from the full realization of the divine. Yikes. What kind of life would we be living if we truly knew, as Jesus did, that I and the Father are one? This is what living in the 90% means. To know that you have enough food, clothing, yes, but also enough compassion, tolerance, understanding, time, energy, and yes, treasure. You're going to get the money pitch, and treasure to share. Not because we are bound by dogmatic laws, including the misconception that we give to get. That's not the law, by the way. Not because we are bound by dogmatic laws, but because we are set free by the very law of life that tells us that we are in this together, that you are not alone, that no man, no woman is an island unto themselves, and that you and I are expressions of the all in all, that we take nothing for granted, that we feel the blessing bestowed upon us at every level of our life, and that we intuitively look for more good rather than more lack. Holmes would say that as we know this truth to be in our life, then we are experiencing what he called the universal sonship, knowing that we are all sons and daughters of the Most High. When he said, inherent in us is the universal sonship, is the reality of every person, that we neither create nor sustain this reality. It only becomes revealed. That Christ means the manifestation of God in us as us. The universal sonship, and hence this Christ is right within you are and right where I stand. And it needs to be recognized and consciously unified with. Right? So it's the God of allowing. We have to allow the God of allowing to have its way with us. That's free will. Take it, and then we take it back. No, I got it handled. Then we screw it up. Oh, God, I need more treatment. But when we understand that all of it is an expression of the infinite intelligence of the universe that can take a speck of inanimate matter, compress it down to a single point of singularity, explode it into the universe, and here we are. Within the eternality of the mind of spirit 5 billion years later, expressing as these magnificent creatures that we are, with our frailties as well. Spirit uses all of it, to demonstrate the infinite power, the infinite creativity, the infinite love, the vast wellspring of love, compassion, tenderness, and understanding that Spirit is. So we are agents of transformation. You just need to get used to the idea. Know that you have within you all the power of the universe longing to express as your life. Now maybe you're thinking, wow, man, what an order. I can't go through with that. But consider that there was a boy once born of simple circumstances, not as a great prince as Siddhartha was 500 years before that, but born to a simple carpenter and his wife. They were out-of-towners. He was born in a stable, slept in a food trough, slept with rags. That boy Change the world as the world knew itself. Think about that. In consciousness, this is what Christ consciousness is. It is transformation. That's what he did. What can you do? What can I do? There is a power for good in the universe available to everyone, and we can use it. And we can use it consciously. So, how about a little bit of music? As I read this, I'm going to leave you with this. This is from David White. In this high place, it is as simple as this. In this high place, it is as simple as this. Leave everything you know behind. Step forward the cold surface. Say the old prayer of rough love and open both arms. For those who come with empty hands will stare into the lake astonished. There, in the cold light, reflecting pure snow, the shape of your own face.